Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really classic story. It's all about a monk, a woman who can read minds, and, most importantly, the key to finding a little freedom from our own chaotic thoughts.
So, have you ever had one of those days? You're trying to focus on something important, but your mind just has other plans. It's jumping from worries to memories to totally random ideas, all without your permission. It can be pretty exhausting, right? Like you're not even the one in charge. Well, if you've ever felt that way, this story is for you.
And here's the core idea for today. This ancient verse gets right to the point. Yeah, the mind is flighty, it's hard to tame, but trying to train it is so worth the effort. And why is that? Because a trained mind is the actual source of our happiness. This very idea is the heart of the story we're about to get into.
Okay, so our story starts in a little village called Matigagama. And in this village lived a truly remarkable woman named Matika Mata. After learning meditation from some monks, she not only found this deep sense of peace, but also developed an amazing ability. She could actually know what other people were thinking. Now you can imagine, word of this incredible ability starts to spread, and it eventually reaches another monk. He's intrigued, maybe even a little bit skeptical. He decides he's got to see this for himself, so he travels all the way to her village, not really to learn from her, but more to conduct a little experiment.
So once he gets there, he starts his silent test. First, he's feeling pretty tired from the trip, and he thinks to himself, man, I'm too tired to sweep. I wish someone would just do it for me. Almost immediately, Matika Mata sends people over to sweep the monastery. The monk is stunned, so he tries again. He thinks, I'm so thirsty. A sweet drink would be perfect right now. And just like that, a sweet drink shows up. For the final test, he thinks, tomorrow I'd really love a fine meal. And sure enough, the next day, she provides him with exactly that.
So, the test was a total success. The woman's ability was absolutely real. But here's where the story takes a turn. The monk's curiosity just evaporates, and it's replaced by something else entirely. Pure, absolute terror. He got his proof, but it came with a realization that just horrified him.
To really get why he was so scared, we need to understand this idea of a putujana. It basically just means an ordinary person, someone like you or me, whose mind isn't fully enlightened or trained. And what do ordinary minds do? Well, they think about everything. Some of our thoughts are good and kind and beautiful, and some, well, they're not so beautiful. They can be unskillful, maybe a little petty or even embarrassing. And that is the source of his panic. The monk suddenly realizes, if she knows I want the room swept or that I want a nice meal, then she must also know every other silly thought that pops into my head. The ugly ones, the jealous ones, the foolish ones. All of it. Suddenly, he feels completely and totally exposed, like his entire inner world is laid bare for her to see.
The ancient text uses this really powerful metaphor to describe how he felt. It was like being a thief who's been caught in the act, holding the evidence. And what were the stolen goods? They were his own unwholesome thoughts. The shame and the fear were just so overwhelming that he felt like he had only one option. He had to run.
And that's exactly what he does. The monk flees the village. He just can't stand another moment feeling like someone can see right into his mind. Totally overwhelmed, he goes straight to his teacher, the Buddha, just hoping to find some kind of answer for this terrifying problem. When he gets there, the Buddha asks him, why couldn't you stay? And the monk just lets it all out. He explains the test, what he discovered, and this deep, profound fear of being seen. The Buddha listens patiently to the whole story. And then, he doesn't give him some complex philosophy lecture. Instead, he gives the monk one single, direct, and totally manageable task. The advice was this simple. Just guard your own mind. Now, notice what the Buddha didn't say. He didn't tell him to stop having bad thoughts. He didn't tell him to go back and control the woman. He simply turned the monk's focus inward. The whole point was this. Your job isn't to worry about who might see your thoughts. Your only job is to be the guardian of your own mind. So with this new instruction, the monk does something incredibly brave. He goes back. He returns to the very village that had terrified him so much. But this time his focus is completely different. He's not worried about Matika Mata anymore. He's laser-focused on his one single job, watching his own mind. And this really shows you what happened because of that shift. Before, his mind was all over the place, which created all this fear and suffering. But after applying the Buddha's advice, his mind became focused and peaceful. And this new focus didn't just get rid of his suffering, it actually led him all the way to the ultimate goal.
It's amazing, really, in just a few days of this dedicated practice, of just watching his mind without worrying about anything else, the monk attained enlightenment. His freedom didn't come from changing his situation. It came from changing his relationship with his own mind.
So what on earth does this old story have to do with us, right here, right now? Well, everything. It's a timeless lesson about where we can actually find true freedom and happiness. So let's just break down the key things to take away from this.
Okay, first off, it's totally normal for our minds to think all kinds of stuff, good and bad. We don't need to feel ashamed of that. Second, as the monks showed us, a huge amount of our suffering comes from worrying about what other people think of us. The real work and the real path to freedom is to turn our attention inward and just gently guard our own mind. And when we learn to watch our mind without judging it, it starts to settle down and become peaceful. And just like that verse said at the beginning, that peace is what brings real, lasting happiness.
So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. The monk's first instinct was to run away, to hide, to avoid being known and judged. But his real freedom only came when he stopped running and started looking inward. So what if our greatest freedom isn't found in hiding from everyone else, but in finding the courage to truly know ourselves?
Thank you so much for exploring this lesson with me today. May you all find happiness.